Under cloudy skies in Mexico City, the NASCAR Busch Series cars on the first of their pace laps. The field split in two by the pace vehicles to gauge pit road speed. The weather's changed since this morning.
A lot cooler, a lot cloudier, 72 degrees, mostly cloudy. This racetrack will have a lot more grip. It's not going to be quite as slick as it was yesterday in qualifying and Friday during practice.
Let's see if we can get old Carl Edwards. He has had an exciting weekend here. Carl Edwards, this is a DW up in the Fox TV booth. Bud, you got a copy?
Loud and clear, DW.
I was going to tell you this with Jack Roush on the phone, but I thought it might scare you to death. So how you feeling, buddy? You going to be good today?
Yeah, I feel really good. I mean, the charter guys brought out a backup car that's fast. So, man, I'm loving this stuff. This is a fun racetrack. I feel good about it.
Any leftover residual effects from your little adventure there on Friday?
Yeah, a little bit of a sore neck. Hopefully we won't run into anything again today. That would really hurt.
All right, Carl. Have a good day, man, and we'll be watching.
10-4. Thanks, guys. Carl, who's beside you now? Carl?
Let's show you what this racetrack looks like. As you see our track map, start-finish line will be right at the top center of your screen. Just exiting the oval, you see the chicane along the top, and in the upper right corner of your screen, Darrell, that's what could be Calamity Corner.
Yeah, right here is that chicane we're talking about, and it's single file through there. But once you make it through there, now you've got turn one, and it's a very high-speed turn that you've got to almost come down to almost first gear there. You come out of there, got a little S, then you got this straightaway here called the back straightaway. Pretty nice place to pass, but here's where it gets difficult. Up through these S's, from there to there. It's all rhythm. Switchbacks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You jerk on the wheel. Then you get out of there. Now you got another straightaway. Good pass in place, but this is a tough turn. 7 and 8 coming onto the front straightaway. Really a hard turn.
There you see the length of the race, 80 laps, 201 miles. We talked about pit road speed, 35 miles per hour, but trust me, that pit window, 27 to 32 laps, that will be a factor in this race, because what these crew chiefs will do, they will run the race backwards. Let's say you can run 30 laps on fuel. They want to be on pit road by lap 50 to get full of fuel to keep that track position to the end.
Yeah, I think the key, Larry, is going to be just you got to stay up front. This is a hard place to pass. I think if you can stay up front all day, you got a shot at winning this thing.
Let's have a look at our Mr. Clean Auto Dry Car Wash starting lineup for NASCAR's first point race in Mexico. 34-year-old Jorge Gutters from Mexico City. He's the pole sitter in his first start. Knocked Robbie Gordon off the pole. Martin Truex Jr. and Boris Said, a road course ringer, in row number 2. Ron Fellows, the Canadian, with Kevin Harvick in row 3. Paul Menard, who has only one road course start, great 7th place effort, and Mexico's Carlos Contreras. There's Carl Edwards, who will start 9th alongside Elliott Sadler. David Green, the pole sitter's teammate and former series champ, with Tyler Walker, the fastest Dodge in the field. Clint Boyer and Jamie McMurray, Boyer's first time on a road course. He qualified 13th. Jason Keller and road race instructor Chris Cook in the 8th row. Tim Fidoa with Mexico City's Michelle Jourdain in row 9. Reed Sorensen second in points, Ashton Lewis Jr. Ron Hornaday driving for Kevin Harvick in row 11 with Brent Sherman out of the Grand Am Series. J.J. Yaley, USAC Triple Crown champ, with Stacy Compton in row 12. Scott Gaylord in the 52 has been replaced by Mexico City's Jimmy Morales. Brent Sherman with him there, and Shane Meal. John Wood, Stanton Barrett, Johnny Sauter, Ryan Hemphill in the 4. Rusty Wallace had a smooth lap, but only good for 31st, next to Randy LaJoy. Jose Luis Ramirez from the NASCAR West Series, and Denny Hamlin from out of NASCAR Late Models. Kenny Wallace and David Stremme in a backup car. Ruben Garcia Novoa from Mexico, and Justin Labonte, whose dad Terry will be spotting down at the chicane. Mara Reyes, one of 2 women drivers in the field, with Adrian Fernandez, the Mexican star who took a provisional. Shauna Robinson, Rafael Martinez, and Eric Jones. In this field, amongst the NASCAR Busch Series regulars and Cup drivers, Getters, the pole sitter, Carlos Contreras, used to race in the Truck Series, Michelle Jourdain from Champ Car, Ramirez from NASCAR West, Novoa, Mara Reyes, who races in the Corona Challenge Series here. Adrian Fernandez, the open wheel star. Rafael Martinez. Let's get some last-minute stories from pit road. Here's Matt.
Mike, as the field shuffles by behind me, they've been given the 1 lap to go. Now, 3 weeks ago at Daytona, right here on Fox, we talked a lot about deal making. Now, polling a number of drivers in the garage area this morning, there were a number of deals being made, but not what you might think. A lot of drivers were concerned about the start going into the chicane and turn 1. So some drivers have worked out some deals where they'll be generous. Let one guy in if he may have that position. They want to get through that area on the start very clean, because that can ruin your whole day if you have a bad start there. So even guys like Boris said and Ron Fellows, Jeff, doing a lot of talking with other drivers about being generous on this opening lap.
I know worrying about the start is one of the key things here today, but as the race progresses, one of the key places for today's whoever's going to wind up winning this race is going to be on pit road. We've talked about it several times. They're going to have to make pit stops. When you make them, how critical they are. But today, one of the interesting notes is they're doing it backwards. This is not normal for a lot of these Busch teams. They're actually pitting the car backwards, and for a guy like Jorge Getters, this is his first time in competitions to pit in this type of a scenario. So he told me he's a little bit concerned about that. Even his crew chief said he needs to get in as smooth as possible, get back off of pit road if we expect to have a chance of winning today. So on pit road is going to be real critical all day long.
And Larry, we've got some cars going to the back, and I wonder if we may have some drivers electing to go to the back.
Based on what he's talking about as far as that chicane in turn 1, very well. I think the most significant is Robbie Gordon, who was on the outside pole, had an engine change after Friday's practice. He will go to the rear. Chris Cook in the 7 car had an engine change to the rear as well. Tim Fedewa had transmission problems qualifying. We already talked about Jimmy Morales going to the rear because he's replacing Scott Gaylord. Adrian Fernandez in a backup car. Now, the thing we need to explain, and it's a little confusing, since Carl Edwards in the 60 car went to a backup car before qualifying and presented his car for qualifying with his race engine, he did not have to go to the rear of the field.
We're told J.J. Yaley may be going to the back as well. Says he may have a transmission problem or maybe electing.
Well, right where he's starting, Mike, is right where I think the trouble will be, right in the middle of the pack. It's going to bottleneck up when you get to that chicane, and it's going to be a chain reaction. I don't want to be in the middle, run into somebody in the front and get run over from the back.
Also, Ruben Novoa has elected to start at the rear. Let's talk about what is now the front row. Now that Robbie Gordon has moved to the rear, you have Jorge Getters, who has raced in the Desafio Corona here. He's been a champion of the Mustang Cup, the Mexico Truck Series, and he's raced in Indy Lights. Most importantly, Darrell, he knows this racetrack. And alongside now, moving up from the second row with Robbie Gordon gone, you're going to have Boris Said, who is one of the world's premier tin top or GT type road racers.
I think it's more important to know the track than it is to be familiar with the car. Look what happened to
Fernandez.
Fernandez, yeah. He wrecked 2 cars. He knows the track, but he doesn't know the cars. So I think that's the deal.
Second row outside, you saw Kevin Harvick, new look for his car in white, red, and green. You'll see a lot of paint jobs you've never seen before today.
Look how long they're in it. That's 7 and 8, and I mean they're in that turn a long, long time, Larry.
This turn is called the Peraltada. It was built with 32 degrees of banking for Formula One, and then the banking was lowered. Now it's nearly flat and runs around the Ball Stadium. Back to the front straightaway.
Well, fellas, we are south of the border of Brocha, Los Cinturones. Tighten those belts, baby. Get her done.
Andale, andale. Arriba, arriba.
Good jump on Boris Said. Through the loop or chicane.
Truex Jr. there in the 8 car. He's won challenge for the lead going off into turn 1. He'd like to get those 5 points for leading the first lap in a Busch race outside the United States.
I think he kind of overcooked the first turn there.
That's very easy to do. We've seen that
really
a lot.
Easy to do.
A very good, clean start.
That dust you see, that's just from safety vehicles and all been around the track this morning. No problems.
Up to turn 4 and the NASCAR cut, which eliminated the Hector Rabaque turns that you see off to the right of your screen. This is turn 4.
in a really unorthodox turn. It's got about 3 hitches in it.
See Robbie Gordon right there in the 83 car. He's already made up about 10 or 12 positions. Remember, went to the rear of the field after that engine change.
Through turn 5, a left-hander.
So 4 car got shoved out of line there.
Ryan Hemphill.
And here are the S's. Here's the area, Darrell, where it's really easy to get behind.
It's just all rhythm, Mike. I mean, it's just, you know, you just saw it on the wheel. And it almost is like, can I just stop and start all over again?
Then the oval straight. 2 off for Getters, who becomes the first ever Hispanic driver to lead a NASCAR Busch Series race.
And as I said, the first Busch Series driver to lead a race outside of the United States.
Just, I tell you, don't count Getters out all day long. That's a great team. Bruco, Newton Moore's crew chief. That guy can win this race.
Robbie Gordon comes across in 28th. He started this race back about 41st. Oh, a little shortcut by Jamie McMurray. That's from turn 1 to turn 3.
Yeah, it's so easy. When you're coming down to that turn, Mike, there's no reference. You're running straight off into nothing. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Straight
it does. Nothing is the pavement where you end up.
And David Hoots told the drivers at the drivers meeting earlier this morning, if you cut part of the racetrack off and you gain positions, all you have to do is give those positions back and there will be no penalty.
What I mean is there's no visual reference down there for getting slowed down.
Martin Truex Jr. in 8 car starting to put a little bit of pressure on Jorge Getters in the 66. This 66 team now, this is the team that Greg Biffle has driven for the last 2 races and will be in the car next week at Las Vegas.
You know, Truex, when he raced in the Busch North Series, ran road races at Watkins Glen, New York and Lime Rock, Connecticut. So he may have more road race experience than much of this field. Here comes Robbie Gordon. That's 83, new number for Robbie in the Busch Series this year, working under John Wood and under the 43 of Jose Luis Ramirez.
He'll get some of those back markers pretty quickly, but once you get on up into the top 20, it gets a little tougher.
He is now 25th. Well, make that 24th.
So he's made it through almost half the field in 2 laps, but the further you go, the harder it'll get.
Now Adrian Fernandez is back in 33rd. He has not gained nearly as many positions as Gordon. At the front, Martin Truex Jr. trying to track down Jorge Getters of Mexico City.
And who is that lurking in 3rd right there?
Well, that's the Nemechek car of Ron Fellows,
Yeah.
and here is a car that started scratch Rafael Martinez in the 0. A lot of smoke from that car, and the 52 with Jimmy Morales, the local driver, replacing Scott Gaylord, who qualified that car. Also with trouble. Matt?
Mike, I had a long conversation with Martin Truex yesterday. He said the game plan today, race no one until the end. Keep the car on the racetrack. Just race his type of race. He's got a mirror full of Ron Fellows, road course specials, a legend, turning left and right, and also Jorge Getters up front. But he told me that he is feeling very confident about driving this race car to victory lane today. He said he feels like he has really stepped up his road racing prowess. In fact, his best career finish, a top 5, a 5th at Watkins Glen in the Busch North car.
I like Fellows, though. Golly, he's won in everything he's ever driven. Busch, truck, a couple of second-place finishes in Cup.
If Martin doesn't give him a little room, he may regret it.
Oh, yeah, Ron will outbreak him going down this back straightaway here, going into 4. That's where road racers have got the advantage over guys that aren't necessarily that good at road racers.
But when you look at Jorge Getters in the 66 and Ron Fellows in the 87, they're here for one thing and one thing only, to win this race. But like you heard Jeff Hammond talk about, Martin Truex Jr., big picture. This is race number 3 of 35.
Jeff, how about Adrian Fernandez, who started in the back in a backup car and has moved up to 32nd?
Mike, what the deal is, I talked to Jim Long, the crew chief on this car. That's a brand new race car. It's never seen the racetrack till they dropped the green flag today. So he may be trying to seat the brakes a little bit, get some of the bugs kind of figured out in this race car. Be smart and realize this is a long race. We still have a long ways to go no matter how far back we start. But being it's a new car, he just might be just thinking, let's just be real easy, make sure we keep all 4 tires on the track, and then be able to give some input back to Jim Long so they can work on that car and make it better by the end of the day.
Thanks, Jeff. This is the oval straight connecting the S's to turns 7 and 8. The Peraltada that lead onto the front straightaway.
Back Robbie Gordon. Here he comes. Whoa. Look out, Robbie.
Trying to move on Stacy Compton. He's past Kenny Wallace in the 22. As the leaders put 4 laps on the board. Jorge Gutters from the pole has kept his Ford out front of Martin Truex Jr.